All right. So yesterday we talked about the fact that, if you want to get access to any kind of information, data about your employees, your customers, your sales, your revenue, and whatnot, you cannot speak or get that information orally or verbally, or you cannot put a request in a written form and say, hey, database, we will want you to, produce for us this sales in this region or this revenue for this first quarter of the year. You will have to speak to the database in a language that it can understand. And the only language it can understand is the SQL. So you will have to write your query, your statement, and say, give me da 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 da, and then it will produce whatever that you write to it, right? You write against the database, and then it will give you that data according to what have been saved in there. So when you take a look at the first one, so we talk about select query over here. As you guys can see in this space here, I'm going to highlight this. Hopefully you guys can see what I've highlighted, right? So it's over here, select star from customers, and then there's like a semi colon over here. So when you write select star from customers table, all that this means is that, hey, database, give me all the records from the customers table. So when you say from customers, you're telling the database, I need all the data from this, table, right? Give me all the columns, all the data over here from the table called customers, right? So when you run the query, so when you run it, this is what it will produce to you. So over here, first of all, in the customers table, so it is not your job, pretty much. It is not your job to create tables and do all of that, but I'm just exposing you guys to it. So sometimes, data definition, DDL, and other things, you can create structures in your schema, and then you can use the other, language, to be able to insert and update all these tables that are in there. But somebody's job is to be able to create for us, if we want a customers table, in the customers table, we're going to have a customer ID. So every individual in the database is going to be assigned a unique ID. Today is not the data I'll talk about, foreign key and primary key and all of that, but maybe a different day I can talk about that. So there's going to be a customer ID that is very unique to everybody. There's going to be an employees table, same thing. There's going to be some column that will make every role in there unique, right? And that's what we call in database, primary key. We'll talk about that maybe some other day. But in the customers table, as you guys can see over here on my screen, there are a set of data that is in there, right? We have customer ID, right? And every customer is assigned a name, like an ID. So 1, 2, 3 over here. And then we have customer name. So Alfred's, whatever that is here, the name is here. Contact name. So it could be that this is the name of a company. And when we get to this company, we have a contact name over there, Maria Enders, right? And this is the address, right? And this is the city, this is a postal code, and this is a country. Very simple table. This is not a complicated table at all, right? So over here, we have records of all these customers in there, right? As a business, we have this database of customers. This is our customers record, right? So contact name, address, city, postal code. But when we write this query that select star from customers, and then we use this star over here, it means, look, give us all the 91 records that is in the database. We don't know. As a matter of fact, we didn't even know that it was 91 records. But once we use this wild card over here, the asterisk or the star sign over here, it means, come on, give me everything back. Give me everything, all that you got in there, right? Select star from the customers table. So it will give you all these records. So everything that is in the customers table, it will pull everything and then you get to see all the records that are in there, right? So that is it. If I wanted to maybe see just customer's name, right, I could have just written the SQL query, and then I could have just said, give me just customer name, right? Give me just customer name. But the moment I say, hey, database, give me all the records by saying select star. When I say select star from customers, the database will pull all the records for me without blinking, without saying, oh, let me filter, let me just sort it, let me just give him all just the contact name only, right? But if I just want maybe contact name, right? So let's say I do not want all the records or all the columns over here. I just want contact name, right? I know exactly what I'm looking for, right? And I already know the columns and names or whatever that is in database. I could just say select contact name from customers. And what the database is going to do is that it's going to give me only contact name column, right? As you guys can see, when you run the query over here, it's giving me just this. It's giving me just the contact name, right? So the database is manipulative. You can retrieve whatever data as you want it, right? So you can say customer's name, and the database, when you write the SQL query, you run it, it will pull just the customer's name only for you, right? Only for you, right? So SQL is a very interesting tool. It's a very powerful language that can get whatever data that you need in. And it's not just this, there are other ones as well. So for instance, when you come back to over here, as you guys can see, there are different queries that can be written, right? So this is just the basics. This is just basics over here. We have different transactions, queries. We have different select queries. We have order by, as you guys can see. We have, okay, so let me go to a couple of them. So we have select distinct. Distinct is used for different stuff. We'll take a look at example very soon, momentarily. We have select where, right? There are queries that we write. This time around, it's not just select star or select column A or column B or contact name or customer's name from table, but we can also specify a condition. We can also say, yes, we want data from the customer table, but we will only want something very specific. Maybe we can say, select star from customer table where the city is equal to Berlin, right? We just want maybe our customers, we want to know maybe our customers in Berlin only. Our customer maybe in Stockholm, in Sweden. We want customers in maybe London. We can specify our customers. We just want our customers in Kumasi. We just want our customers in Accra, right? Customers in Atlanta. So you can specify or give a condition that the database should just give you just that. You don't want anything else, right? So you can write a query and then you can use the where clause. So the where is another clause that's very interesting that you can always use. And then we have and, or, and not. This is also another set of operations that you can also use. It's also another powerful clause or an operator that we use in getting different set of conditions in and getting some data out from the database. This is very interesting. And Kofi, you need to take this one very seriously. You need to have a lot of things, because I know your team, there's a lot of backend stuff. There's a lot of database stuff that you might get into. So you need to get on W3 Schools anytime you have a moment and practice and run some of these queries, and it will be very helpful to you. And then we have the order by. So sometimes when you write the query, you will want to maybe look at the data from maybe ascending or descending order, right? So basically what that means is that when you say as ascending order, it will give you the records from A, B, C in that order. But if you want it in descending order, it will give you like from Z and from down, from the alphabet down, right? So instead of ABC, it will give you ZYX, right? It will begin to give it in that order from the bottom. Instead of doing from A, it will start from Z, right? So in descending, that is how you want it. So database is very interesting. And then insert. Over here, you guys will get to practice and insert data into table columns. So for instance, if we were going to create, I think we did a project, right, for ABC Church, right? So very good. So for ABC Church project that we did, we could have created, and we should create database for the members over there, so that if the members wanted to see their name and contribute to something or have a record over there on the platform, they can do that. So on the table of members, we will have members first name, last name. We will insert all those things, and when we want to insert the data itself into it, or if it's going to be done by the members themselves, so that when they come online, the form that they fill, when they fill the form, the data gets saved into that database record for us automatically, right? So we can also insert manually. We can insert into this, tables as well. And this is the syntax or the format. This is how we insert into database columns. Very, very important. Also over here is an example over here. So null values, how to use updates, and how you can update a table. You can set column, values in the column 2, this value, where condition is this, and then how to use means and max, right? So from people that are in a very high production environment, somebody's job is also like a SQL developer. We have people that are SQL developers, and every day they run almost about 200 to 300 queries for the company. So they get requests from all sort of places. Hey, can you give us record for our sales in this area? Can you give us records for this? So every day somebody's title is a SQL developer, and we have BI intelligence, so business intelligence architect as well. Then we have data modelers and data analysts. People are always in the database. All that they do every day is they sit in the database. They are manipulating data. They're working on data all the time. 8 hours of work as you are building solutions and you are building products and you're doing this. Somebody's also work is to be able to manipulate data, get data out for the organization, for different requests that are coming in other places. That is all that they do. So they're running queries. We also have select count. Sometimes, you want to be able to count records in a certain, with a certain criteria and a certain row or something like that. You want to get an average of something. So database is very interesting. Database and SQL queries, very, very interesting. You can get an average, you can get a sum, you can get a count, you can get so many things that can be done. I'm plugging my laptop charger before. Yeah, so very, very important that you guys get in here. We'll look at an example very soon, but I'm not going to get time to go through all this. That's why I've shared a link with you guys. But it is very simple, very practical. You just come over here and then you'll see that it will say that try it yourself. Anytime you try it yourself, you will see the data put up. You'll be able to insert it yourself. You'll be able to change it. You'll be able to, update it and do all those all these kind of things over here. Right? We have ins, in-betweens, joins, inner joins. So when you get into joins, then you get into like a mid-level type of queries. It is not complicated yet, right? But it is mid-level type of SQL queries, where now you are not just looking at just one table. You can now merge two tables, right? And you want to be able to see records of two tables by joining the table together. But there's different type of joins. We have inner joins, left joins, right outer join, left outer join. We have so many of these joins, right? We have what we call subqueries. You'll be able to write, from mid to complex queries. We have something called, subqueries, queries that are nested in another queries. Like I said, this is not your job. This is somebody's job to write from mid-level to complex queries. And not only that, and even write PL SQL, so programming language. Now we're getting into deep waters right now, where we talk about PL SQL is programming language, type of SQL. Then we're getting into some complicated stuff, but they are all exciting. They are all very interesting stuff that you guys maybe later on, when we have the bandwidth. Now we don't have the bandwidth. When we have the bandwidth, we can definitely explore some of these areas. So let's go back here and then let's do our example of one or two example of this, select queries, and then we'll get into where clause and if time permits us, maybe one or two of this means and max or something like that before we leave. But again, the resource is there. Take advantage of the resource that is there. Don't only expect to get every information from the class. There are certain things that I will just throw the link out there, say go and read about this. And I must applaud you guys for that bold and the good job that you guys did on the presentation of use cases. I just shared, it was very intentional, very deliberate. I shared the link for use cases and things, and I like the presentation. I like how you guys research and started putting together all this alternate flow, the exception flows, and all these personas in the use case, presentation. So it's good. I like it. I want people that can research, that can read, that can get things out there, right? That's good. So same thing, you guys already have these resources. Go over there to W3 Schools, practice. I cannot say that enough. Practice, practice, practice. And not everybody is going to be, you're going to be in an environment where you got to be digging in databases and everything, but it is very helpful. It is very, very, very helpful for you to understand basic to intermediate, database structures and concept. Very, very helpful. So don't take it lightly. Don't underestimate this. All right, so let's get into, we were doing something, we're practicing something, we're practicing, okay. So let's run this query and see what it pulls up here for us. Okay, all right. Okay. So we started running this query for customers, right? And then we said that we can just simply do, star, simply star over here. And when we run this query, it's going to give us all the records in this query. So we have customers, okay? So if you guys can see over here, I'm going to highlight something over here. We have database for customers, categories, employees, order details, orders, product, shippers, suppliers. So for instance, if we want to see the data records in our categories, as it's over here, there's going to be 8 records. If we run this, it will give us all the 8 records in that database table. So there's a table called categories over here. 8 records that's in it, right? Let's go to employees table. So you can play with this, employees table. And always be careful to add the semicolon over here. Very important. If this semicolon is not there, if I run it, sometimes it might run. Sometimes if you're in a database itself, like a Microsoft SQL, database, it might not run. Of course, you see what is over here. The Microsoft database engine cannot find the input data or query employee. Okay, let me add the S. I think there's an S behind. You got to be careful with the database structure. So over here, it gives out the records over here, but let me add the semicolon over here and see what comes up. Okay, so it will still produce this 10 records for all the employees. So you see over here, employee ID, last name, first name, birth date, photo. There's a picture where you can go and see the employee's photo. So there's inside the database of the company, we have all these records that is in there, right? We have all these records that is in there, and every employee is assigned a unique value, a unique ID in there. So as you guys can see, Nancy, Andrew, Jeanette, all these guys are all employees over there. But in a real environment, you got to be careful of all this syntax. Make sure that you have the right syntax in there. So let's see another table. Let's see orders. Let's look at our orders table, right? Let's see if it will run. Okay, so orders, we have order ID, customer ID, employee ID, order date, and shippers record. Okay, So we have all this record that is in here, almost a lot of records. So other details, as you can see, it's a lot, 518, of course. So that means every order that people, when people order something from our portal, our website, our business, the record is saved in there. So every order history is in there for us, right? So let's go to, product. Let's see the records of products that we sell. Okay, all right. So you can see over there, the product table also have product ID, the product name, the supplier ID for this product as well, the category ID, the unit, then the price is also in there, right? So this is very important. Let's see our suppliers and shippers, and then let's manipulate one or two in here. Shippers. Okay, so we have Speedy Express, United Package, Federal Shipping. So these are our shippers. These are the shippers that we use in shipping our product out, right? And their records is also in the database. So shipper ID, shipper name, and their phone number, right? If we are looking for Federal Shipping and we're looking for their phone number, we write a query, we'll be able to get their information, their data over here, right? And lastly, let's look at maybe suppliers. All right, so suppliers, we have supplier ID, supplier name, contact name, address, city, postal code, the country, and the phone number. So that record is also in here, right? So basically, that is what you get, And if, like I said, you already know some of these columns or data attributes in the supplier table, you can write a query to get specific things, So so for instance, if we wanted to get maybe our suppliers in just USA only, right? When we write this query, we could have continued and say, let's start from suppliers where country equals to USA, right? We could just do that and say, we just want our suppliers who are in USA only. So let's come back to that, and then I'll look at that as well. So let's look at our where clause. Okay. So you can select the column, you can do all star or from the table, right? That's a syntax. So you write select either using the wildcard, which is the asterisk, that's a star, from the customers table and then you specify the condition and then you end it. So let's look at an example of that. Okay. Of that. All right. So as you guys can see, select star, that is give me database, give me all the records from the customers table where country equals to Mexico. So this time around, as you guys can see over here, under the city or under the country over here, it's only the records for our customers in Mexico that has been yielded, that has just returned to us, right? Because we specify exactly what we need. So when we write a query, select star, give me all the records of customers. We want to know all the customers that we have in Mexico, right? And it was specified. If we specify and say, give us the records of our customers in maybe USA, if there's a USA record, it will give us only the customers in USA, right? If we say, give us only the customers in Japan, I don't know whether there are customers in Japan. Let's say, example, if there are no customers in Japan, it will not return anything, as you guys can see, right? If we don't have customers in Japan, it will not return it. Let's say Germany. I think I saw Berlin, so I'm thinking, Germany will be in there. So let's say Germany. Okay, all right. Because I saw Berlin in there previously. Yeah. So countries, Germany. So it gives us all our customers in Germany, right? Yeah, so that is how.
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Can we try 2 countries at a time?
Yes, you can use the end and all clause. So when you use this one, right? The end. Anytime you use and then all not operators, you can definitely get 2 different or multiple conditions in there. Right? So you guys are going to have a filled and fun day. You can use different conditions in here. So let's start from customers, where country is called to this and city is called to Berlin. You can specify. You can manipulate this as much as possible, right? I have 3 minutes to end this session because I have a meeting at 6. Questions, guys, before we end this session. I've only 3 minutes. Questions. I've already sent this link out to you guys. I want you guys to play around with this. Don't be afraid. I remember those days. Somebody they were even afraid to touch the to touch the computer, to touch the buttons and click or something. Play over here. This, you're not going to mess up anything. Try it yourself. Play until you're getting it. Come over here, do the update, do the insert, do all these things, count, average, how we use it. It's interesting, right? Some of these queries over here. So product ID, select count. It will just count all the product ID, and and will just retain all these things for you. Very interesting, right? Very, very interesting. And I want you guys to, use it. Sometimes you can use, wildcards like, right? So sometimes, instead of typing out the whole query, or what we are practicing is very small data, but in companies they have terabytes of data. So you're not going to be able to run through every record one by one and look at the record and say, this is what I'm looking for. So sometimes you even use operators like. And so, we're looking for a name that starts with maybe JA or something. The database will look for all the customers' first name that start with JA for you, and then you can go through. So we use different wildcards and manipulative, languages in getting kind of data that we want. And I want you guys to practice and have a fun day over here today when you get a chance. Anything else, guys? I have 1 minute. Okay, all right. So tomorrow morning we will continue from here, and then we'll talk about different things. Tomorrow morning I'm going to be talking about maybe decision trees and some ERD, entity relationship, diagrams. When we're building databases, the columns, data, mapping logics and data sets and data attributes that go into those tables and other things. I'll talk about that briefly, and then you guys are all set, and then we'll talk about something else as well tomorrow. All right, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great